Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining Calvet and Bergman and Moore for our webinar on PACT ACT expands the Gulf War presumptive conditions. Before we begin, I want, as a disclaimer, I would like to bring to your attention that this is being recorded. The recording will be available on our website and also on YouTube so that you can watch this and share it with others that you might think benefit from this information presented. My name is Jennifer Redquist, and I'm proud to say I'm a CalTAP training coordinator with Calvet. My background includes being a veteran myself, growing up a military brat. I was an Air Force military wife and the mother of 3 active duty airmen. With that being said, I understand the hardships that every single one of you guys have to endure and that come with serving your country. And I would like to take a moment to say thank you to all the service members, veterans, spouses, children, parents, families, and friends for all that you do and have done to support the United States military. And we all understand at Calvet, uniformed or not, that all of you have served. And I want you to know, cradle to grave, Calvet's going to be here for you. And all the organizations are truly passionate about getting resources and benefits and assistance to you. So please reach out if you or anybody you know need any type of assistance. I'm excited to join today's presentation because it's packed with great information and resources that I know is going to make a huge impact on your lives. Today, we are joined by Associate Director Andrea McDonald from Bergman and Moore to present on the expansion of PACT ACT presumptive conditions. Additionally, we have Calvet's local interagency network coordinator, Annette Walliver, who will discuss her role in Calvet. Lastly, Michael Monk, he's another CalTAP training coordinator. He is listed as CalTAP questions. He will be putting all sorts of resources and links into that chat function associated with the topics discussed. Additionally, he'll be monitoring the Q&A tab. Now, I know there's going to be a lot going on. If you want any of these links or you need any additional assistance, private message CalTAP questions with your email address, and we will send you a document with the presentation, with the questions, with all the links. At the end of the presentation, we're going to go over all those Q&A questions and discuss them with the subject matter experts so everybody can hear the answers to those common questions. All right, let's get started with Calvet overview. This is meant just to give you a snapshot of the benefits and resources available to you. The goal is to get your feet wet with benefits and acquainted to where to go and how to find those benefits and phone numbers to people that's going to help you access your benefits. So what is CalTAP? CalTAP is designed to inform and connect veterans of all eras to their earned federal and state benefits, as well as provide continuing support and assistance as your needs change over time through 5 different pathways. So I always like to say that verbatim because I want you guys to know, we all want you to know that we want to be there for you 24/7, cradle to grave. We understand that your needs are going to change over time, day to day, month by month, year by year. You know, what you need today is not the same thing that you're going to need tomorrow, and vice versa goes. So we want to be there for you all kinds of ways, including 24/7 online. And we have developed 5 different pathways that you can access online: core curriculum, education, employment, entrepreneurship, and service providers. Service providers, there's a really cool pathway. This is designed for those providers that give assistance to veterans and their families. It's kind of like it kind of tells them what your needs are and how to assist you the best. This is our Veterans Resource Book. Not only in all of the information is available online through our online portal, but also this really, really cool resource book. You don't know what you don't know, honestly. I was out of the military for 20 years before I finally got myself to a county veteran service office and learned, and I came in there, I didn't know what to ask for. I just said, I'm here for my benefits. And they said, which ones? I was like, I don't know what to even ask for. They gave me this resource book and I was blown away by all the federal and state benefits that are in this book. And the greatest thing about it is that now I had the questions to ask about about those benefits. So how to use CalTAP online. So here is a CalTAP the Calvet website. It is incredibly user-friendly. Everything is just a click away. You click on where it says education, it's going to have all those education benefits, whether it be state or federal level. You need help finding a job, click on employment. You know, it's all very user-friendly. If you look down there, it says find CVSO. That's really, really great. So if you're looking for someone to help you with applying for state and federal benefits, you're going to go to that CVSO. So if you click on find CVSO, it's going to have all the county offices in the state of California. You click on the county that you live in, and it's going to pop up with all the offices in your area, their phone numbers, their address, and their hours. It's very, very great. What we have circled in yellow is our CalTAP portal. So once you click on that, it's going to have those pathways that I was talking to you about earlier. And also right there circled in yellow, it says archives. That's where you're going to find all of our previously recorded webinars and also show upcoming webinars, all sorts of great stuff. So let's just start with the core curriculum pathway. Once you open that pathway, it's going to have all these modules inside of it. So it's going to break it down even more for you. So they have introduction, resilience, healthcare here, claims and compensation, and then basic California benefits is here. So let's just go with the basic benefits. Once you click on that, it's going to open up documents that have links to the forms that you need and different resources that you need for those benefits. So what are the California benefits? This is going to also be in that resource book, chapter 1, actually. Really easy right there. But the California state benefits, this is just a snapshot. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time to go through all of them because we want to get to the meat and potatoes of why you guys are here today. But here's a snapshot of all the great benefits in the state of California. With the college tuition fee waiver, that's going to waive the tuition and fees at any state funded schools for dependents of veterans with a disability rating of 0 to 100%. We have the veterans designation on your license. This is cool because you no longer have to carry around your DD form 214. You can have the word veteran on your license. There's motor vehicle registration fee waiver. It's going to waive the registration fees of one of your vehicles if you are a veteran that has a disability rating with a federal VA of 100% and you have a disability that interferes with your mobility, such as knee pain, back pain, hips, whatever it may be. You have mobility issues. Also, fishing and hunting license in the state of California. You can go to wildlife.ca.gov and get a discounted park fishing licenses and hunting licenses. And then you can also apply for the park pass. So it's no cost to state park passes. This is also done online through parks.ca.gov. You're just going to go to the top of those different websites, those two websites I told you about, and it'll say discounted passes, or it'll say veteran passes or something like that on the top. Very easy to do. I did it myself. Within a month, I got my passes. There's a disabled veteran property tax exemption in the state of California. This is really cool. If you're 100% rated by the federal VA, you can get up to $150,000 of your property taxes exempt. For instance, you have a house that's worth $500,000. Your house is being assessed at $500,000. But if you have 100% rating, you're actually going to be assessed at $350,000. It'll save you up to like $1,700 per year. It's a huge, huge savings. You're just going to go to your county assessor's office to get that. Then there's also different discounts for business license, tax, and fee exemptions. You're going to go to the county assessor's office where you do your taxes, and you're going to say, hey, I'm a veteran, I'm a disabled veteran, whatever it may be. Is there any discounts there for me? That's where you pay your taxes. Go there. Now, California also has, Calvet has other divisions within them that are there to help you out. We have the Calvet Home Loan, which is a fantastic home loan program. We have webinars on that home loan. So you can go to YouTube and go to our Calvet YouTube channel. And there's a great webinar on that if you want to learn more about our home loans. We have the women's division that is fantastic. It's information, advocacy, and outreach to women in the state of women veterans in the state of California. We have the minorities division that also does information, advocacy, and outreach for minorities. So all of these different divisions, we have webinars, recorded webinars ready for you at any time on our Calvet YouTube channel. All right. Let's go on to the next one. Common veteran websites we want to go over. This is va.gov. This is fantastic. It's a nice hub for all of your federal benefits. Super easy. You're going to sign in with your DS login, or you can also sign in with ID Me. And you can look at your medical records, find out about your disability claims. You can look at your GI Bill, all sorts of great stuff. It's a nice hub place to go. And this is what that managed portal looks like. And it's replacing that e-benefits if you were ever used e-benefits before. This is My Health eVet. This is where you're going to make your appointments with your VA healthcare providers. You're going to talk to your healthcare providers, message them, get your records, refill your prescriptions. It's really great. Again, use your DS login or your ID.me. I went through a lot of information very quickly, but we want to always support you and be there for you 24/7. So a great way we can do that is if you provide your non-DoD email to CalTAP at calvet.ca.gov. You can register for My Calvet on our Calvet's website. You can add our Veteran Services social media, which I have some QR codes, really nice ones right there for you to just use your phone, point it at the screen, and you can get those, especially the one for YouTube. I think that's very, very important. Attend our webinars and fill out today's survey. Today's survey is really, all the surveys are really important to us. We implement all of your suggestions. We want these webinars to be beneficial to you guys, and we want to put out stuff that you need. So please let us know how we're doing. Let us know if if there's something you want us to cover. Let us know if it's too much or whatever. We will definitely implement all those different suggestions. So this is where you're going to sign up for the My Calvet. Once you log into that, it's going to ask you questions like, when did you serve? Do you have dependents? All sorts of different type of questions. It's just general demographic questions so that we can, once you do that, the website will be specific to your needs. So you're going to see your needs up front on the homepage, or news that might apply to you on the homepage. It's really, really great. And you're going to be signed up for our newsletter every month, which is fantastic. Our secretary, Deputy Secretary Keith Boylan always has a message about the upcoming theme for the month. We have the upcoming webinars on there. And then also we have different articles from the federal VA that have to do with your benefits and such. So here is my contact information. Please, please send me an email, give us a call if you have any questions whatsoever. I've also put on here the 988 number for the Veterans Crisis Line. It's also a crisis line for civilians or anybody that you know might be in crisis. For veterans, you are going to press 1 to get through on the crisis line. I really hope that 988 comes just as popular as 911, so that if anybody's ever in need, you know exactly where to call and who to get help with. With that, I'm going to hand the floor over to Annette Walliver. She's our local interagency network coordinator for the Central Valley area. And hello, Annette.
Good morning. How's everyone doing? So I am we're referred to as a link. Basically, I am a field rep for the state of California. Next slide, please. But I'm one of the 8 links that serve throughout California. Calvet has divided the state into 8 regions. Each color is a region with a coordinating link. I'm the Central Valley link, so I'm on the 99 all the time, and we're doing a lot of outreach right now. We work together as a team, working with state and federal agencies, but within our individual communities. I serve Stanislaus and Kern counties. We build up those community resources and nonprofits that can assist our veterans if there's needs the state and federal can't assist with. Next slide, please. So we do outreach to, service members, veterans, and their families. We go to DOD installations. I go to Lemoore Naval Air Station at least twice a month. That way we can get veterans and prior or current military service members connected to what they're going to be eligible for when they separate. We go to the community colleges. These are usually recently separated veterans, and we can assist them. And we also go to our veterans resource centers in the libraries. And these are communities that probably have no really resources available except the library. They're lifelines. In the Central Valley, it's Dos Palos, it's Ridgecrest, Los Banos. So we make sure we make referrals and work directly with established service provider networks. And I'm sorry,
Annette, I can take over from here.
okay.
Yeah, okay. So they also provide leadership and advocacy to local communities. So they are there at those meetings. They are advocating for you on a daily and monthly and everyday basis. So they know about those different entities that can help you out. Lastly, they also connect benefits. They connect you to the EDD office, the job centers. They're there at the county veteran service offices. If you're having a hard time getting a hold of a county office, she has relationships with those county offices. She also has a great relationship with us here. So if there's anything that you might need with CalVet, she's able to connect you to those people that can help you. She also has connections at the healthcares. So if you're having a hard time getting appointments, if you're having a hard time giving advocacy at the clinics and such, she can help you and get you help at the vet center. She has relationships with the vet centers. Just like all the other links also have the same connections. Here's Annette's information, her emails. There's 2 emails there. You can use either one of those work, and her phone number. You can give her a call. Again, we will have the PowerPoint available for you guys so that if you are not in her area, you're in a different area, you can have the link information for the area that you are in. All right. With that, we're going to hand the floor over to Andrea. She is with Bergman and Moore, and she's going to go over the PACT Act.
Hi, good morning to all of you. My name's Andrea. I know I'm a little mislabeled on the link today, but like they mentioned, we're going to go over the PACT Act today, which was a new bill that was passed in Congress this summer and is really comprehensive and made some changes to a lot of different areas. So we're going to hit all of those highlights. You want to go on to the next slide? You can keep going. So this is Glenn Bergman. He's one of the founding partners of our firm, Bergman and Moore. We are located in Rockville, Maryland, which is near the DC area, but we represent veterans nationwide, and our firm only focuses on representing veterans who are seeking to get their benefits from VA. You want to, next slide? So here's what we're going to talk about today, is go over an overview of the changes of what the PACT Act made to some different areas, and then talk about the new category of service, presumptive service connection established by the PACT Act. First, so you know what's different about it, we're going to start by talking about direct and presumptive service connection, so you can see the benefit of presumptive service connection. So in a normal claim to establish VA benefits, veterans first have to establish that their claimed disability is service connected. The normal way to do that is through establishing direct service connection, which involves the veteran having to show 3 elements. That's the present disability, which usually requires a medical diagnosis, or at the very least symptoms that cause impairment in their ability to function. The next is that something happened in, oh, if you can go back for just 1 second. Something happened in service, so that there's some sort of in-service event. And then the third element they have to show is a connection between the 2, which is called a nexus. So in order to establish direct service connection, veterans have to show all 3 of these elements. The nexus one is usually the hardest for veterans to establish. It's because it generally requires some sort of medical expertise to link their current medical condition to whatever happened in service. And that can be really hard to establish. Not everybody even has reliable access to healthcare. And even if they do, most medical professionals are focused on treating the current symptoms, and so are not usually too caught up in figuring out where it came from. So this nexus element is often the hardest for veterans to establish in trying to establish service connection. So you can go to the next slide now. So the benefit of presumptive service connection generally is that it takes away from the veteran having to show that nexus element. So the way that presumptive service connection generally works is there's some different categories that we're going to talk about. And there are qualifying medical conditions that fall into those different categories that VA has established. And then there's a qualifying event in service. And if the veteran hits those two things, then the law provides the nexus element. So the veteran doesn't have to establish it, and service connections presumptively granted. As we're going to look at, you can win a claim for service connection by using both of these presumptions or just one of them. So let's look at the next slide to see what I'm talking about. So if you get the benefit of both connections, that's a veteran who has both the qualifying medical condition and the qualifying event. So that's, say, a veteran who served in Vietnam in 1972 was presumptively exposed to herbicides, including Agent Orange. So they get the qualifying event. And if they also have a disease that's qualifying on that list, like prostate cancer, then they get the benefits of both presumptions, and VA is should automatically say their claim is service connected. On the next slide. You can also win a claim, though, by using just the presumption of exposure. So if we go back to that same veteran who served in Vietnam, they were presumptively exposed to herbicides, including Agent Orange. But they could have a medical condition that's not on VA's list of qualifying medical conditions. That benefit of exposure still helps them because they don't have to otherwise show they were exposed to Agent Orange. The law is already providing that. They can at least just now focus on whether their other medical condition was caused by their Agent Orange exposure. And to do that, you need a medical opinion that's focused on the veteran's specific risk factors. So it can even be helpful if a doctor says, you know, this veteran has a certain type of cancer and doesn't have any of the normal risk factors for it, so I can't come up for any other explanation other than possibly their exposure to Agent Orange in service. Something like that could help establish the nexus opinion, but that veteran's still getting advantage, at least of the presumption of exposure to herbicides in this example or the other categories. So we are going to look first at the herbicide exposure and what the PACT Act changed to that. They made a couple updates in that area. So this might be the presumptive service connection category you're most familiar with. Veterans who were presumptively exposed to herbicides, including Agent Orange. That's been established for veterans who served in Vietnam during the Vietnam War era. But what the PACT Act added is a couple new categories. First of all, they added the benefit of exposure to veterans who served on any Thai Air Force base from January 9th of 1962 to June 30th of 1976. It's both any US Air Force Base or the Royal Thai Air Force Base during that time. VA used to have an internal policy that provided this presumption to some veterans who were on certain bases if they had certain jobs. The PACT Act removed all those extra requirements and now instead says that any veteran who served on any Thai Air Force Base during that time frame was presumptively exposed to Agent Orange. So it's making what had been sort of a presumption before a lot cleaner and clearer and applying it to more veterans. It also added a couple other categories that is going to impact less veterans, but are still worth mentioning. It added an exposure to Laos in those specific dates, as well as a large period of exposure from veterans who served in Guam or American Samoa. Veterans who served on Johnston Atoll, including ships around that area, and then certain locations in Cambodia during the spring of 1969. So those veterans used to have to specifically show that they were exposed to herbicides, but now with the PACT Act, they were presumptively exposed to herbicides, so they all get that benefit. The PACT Act also added 2 new health conditions to the list of medical conditions that were presumptively caused by exposure to herbicides. One is, I'm not even sure how to pronounce this, MGUS. That's not one I've seen as often, but it added a new diagnosis. The big one is that it added hypertension or high blood pressure. This is something that the medical reports had been showing an association between hypertension and exposure to Agent Orange for years now, but VA had just been refusing to add this condition to the presumptive list, citing the cost, given how many Americans are eventually diagnosed with hypertension. So Congress went ahead and added it to the list in part of the PACT Act. So this is a lot of veterans could potentially take advantage of this. So any veterans who served in any of those categories of presumptive service exposure to Agent Orange, who now has a diagnosis of hypertension that could be presumptively caused by the Agent Orange exposure in service. So that's a really big addition they added. Excuse me. So next, I'm briefly going to talk about how the PACT Act also expanded the presumptive service connection for Gulf War conditions. So veterans who served in the Persian Gulf War from any period from August 2nd of 1990 onwards until through today qualified as Persian Gulf War veterans that had previously included all of the countries that are red on your screen. The PACT Act added some new countries to that list, including Afghanistan, Israel, Egypt, Turkey, Syria, and Jordan. So now anyone who served in any of those countries, which includes the airspace over those countries and the body of water for any period after August 2nd of 1990, now qualifies as a Persian Gulf War veteran and therefore could qualify for the Persian Gulf War presumptive conditions. So there used to be a time restriction on when the qualifying medical conditions, when the symptoms started, when they became manifest. And Congress had been expanding out that time restriction periodically, so we hadn't hit it yet. So in the PACT Act, they just removed it. It was a restriction that hadn't been put in place in a lot of times yet. So they just removed it, so that won't be a future hurdle either. And as I mentioned before, the Persian Gulf War under VA's definition started in August of 1990 and continues through the present. So now the qualifying medical condition, the symptoms can start at any time and the veteran can still be take advantage of the presumptive service connection. The qualifying conditions for the Gulf War illness presumptions work a little differently than the other categories. They focus on a chronic qualifying disability, which can fall into two categories. One is an undiagnosed illness, and one is for medically unexplained chronic multi-symptom illnesses. That mouthful is often just shortened to MUCMI. The key examples of those is chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, and then functional gastrointestinal disorders. So if the veteran has either of those two categories of medical conditions, then they don't need, and they have qualifying service in the Persian Gulf War, then they don't need to provide a nexus. This category is different though, that both of those buckets of qualifying medical conditions really focus on the lack of medical explanation, which makes it, these work a little different than the other presumptive categories. You want to go to the next slide? So instead of having really like a list of medical diagnoses, the Gulf War presumptive categories focus on qualifying signs and symptoms for those two different categories of medical conditions. VA's regulations have a list of what can count as those signs and symptoms, but that's not an exhaustive list, meaning these aren't the only things that qualify. You could have other symptoms. This is just a list of examples. It often includes things like fatigue, skin symptoms, headaches, muscle and joint pain, sleep disturbances, and menstrual symptoms. The key is just there's all these qualifying symptoms that can't be medically explained as to what's causing them. So other than giving us just that list of signs and symptoms, VA's regulations don't provide a lot of guidance on what constitutes an undiagnosed illness. And these claims are difficult to win because, again, doctors by training want to put a diagnosis on something. So if an individual presents with symptoms, doctors want to categorize it. That's what their whole training was for. So it is rare to really be able to show that you have signs or symptoms that cannot be diagnosed, because this is just kind of contrary to how most doctors are trained. So as soon as a veteran has a diagnosis, then VA says, well, you can't fall into this category anymore because you've gotten a diagnosis, so it's not an undiagnosed illness. So this is kind of an unfortunate catch-all that makes this category of Persian Gulf War claims unfortunately difficult to win, because VA focuses on any diagnosis is kicking it out of this category. So the category that's more often successful is the MUCME that I talked about before. So VA's regulations provide some more guidance about what counts as MUCMEs. It's a diagnosed illness without a conclusive pathophysiology or etiology. That means either medical science doesn't understand the cause of the disease or exactly what bodily changes are happening because of the disease. And the court has said if either of those things are unknown, then it counts as a MUCME. So again, the most classically seen examples of this is chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, and then functional gastrointestinal disorders. But that's also, again, not an exclusive list. So there could be more that fall into this category. The key to focus on is even if you have a medical diagnosis, it's something that medical science doesn't know the cause or exactly what's happening in the body as a result of that illness. And then there's also a category of infectious diseases that can qualify for presumptive service connection for Gulf War veterans. VA's regulations lists 9 infectious diseases, which are up on your screen. There is a time limit on most of these. Most of these have to have had symptoms start within 1 year of separation from service, except for malaria and TB, because both of those have a longer incubation period. I want to stress that the long-term effects may be service-connected. So sometimes a veteran has this infectious disease and they're able to, kick the infection and get over the disease so they don't have the current infection still. But if they continue to have long-term symptoms as a result of one of these infectious diseases, then those symptoms are something that they can still seek service connection for. So that was just a brief overview of what changed in existing presumptive service connection categories from the PACT Act. But now we're going to turn to the meat of the new category of presumptive service connection that the PACT Act created, and that's presumptive service connection from exposure to burn pits. So this is reflecting that for decades now, service members have been instructed to dispose of waste and trash in huge pits that were just set on fire, so-called burn pits. This released a lot of different toxins and various exposures into the air that veterans routinely breathed in. So Congress has created a new category of presumptive service connection that includes both qualifying service and a new list of qualifying medical conditions. So here on your screen is the list of qualifying service that would qualify the veteran to have been presumptively exposed to burn pits. It looks similar to the list of qualifying service for Gulf War veterans, but it's not exactly the same. So especially while this is still new to all of us, I would recommend double checking this under VA's new categories. Because like I said, there's a lot of overlap, but it's not exactly the same. So the countries on the left of your screen, any veteran who served there from August 2nd, 1990 or after, which is also the marker of the start of the Persian Gulf War, then they were presumptively exposed to burn pits. About a decade later, the presumption kicks in for the countries on the right half of your screen, which is after September 11th. Added an additional list of countries and veterans who served in that list were presumptively exposed to burn pits. Keep going. New list of qualifying conditions. It's a lot of different types of cancer. And the way that Congress drafted the PACT Act, it's pretty inclusive of those types of cancer. So for example, it's sure to say any type of brain cancer. any type of reproductive cancer, any type of respiratory. It's pretty inclusive for the diagnosis of cancers for those that are listed on your screen. And then on the right is a list of medical conditions that mostly focus on respiratory conditions. So it's asthma, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease or COPD, chronic bronchitis, a lot of different forms of respiratory diseases are what is added to the list of qualifying medical conditions. A note about effective dates. The way that Congress drafted the law gave phased effective dates going far into the future. It created this new presumption, but said VA didn't have to start paying benefits based on these new presumptives until dates into the future. But as of the date of signing, President Biden indicated that they will be considering all of the new PACT ACT presumptives effective of the date it became law, which is August 10th of 2022. So despite what's written in the law about future effective dates, he said that they're going to start treating them as of the date of signing this summer. VA still hasn't really put that into writing. It's reflected on their webpage, which you can see up on your screen, but we still, lawyers by trade like to see things in writing. So we've been told there's future guidance coming from the secretary. We haven't seen it yet. So they are telling us that all of these new presumptives will be effective as of the date that the PACT Act became law over the summer. So based on that, veterans who qualify for this new presumptive service connection should be filing their claims right away. Don't wait, even though the law is giving forward effective dates, go ahead and file your claims now. And VA has said that they're going to begin processing these. And you want to preserve your earliest effective date anyways. And then I want to highlight again what we had mentioned kind of before. So if a veteran has qualifying service that would presume that they were exposed to burn pits, but has a medical condition that's not listed on the presumptive list, they can still argue for service connection using the first exposure. So say a veteran, had qualifying service in Afghanistan and now has a diagnosis of sleep apnea. Sleep apnea is not included on the list of presumptive medical conditions, but this veteran can still argue that their sleep apnea was caused by their presumed exposure to burn pits during their service in Afghanistan. But don't submit a naked claim for burn pit exposure. That's not a medical diagnosis. That's just presuming of what the toxin the veteran was exposed to in service. Instead, the veteran needs to be filing a claim for a disability, a medical condition, or at the very least symptoms that they're having as a result from that exposure. So again, file a claim for a medical condition. You're just arguing that the presumed exposure to burn pits is what is causing your current medical condition. So the PACT Act also changed part of VA's duty to assist about when they have to provide an exam. So under the law, VA has a duty to assist veterans who are filing a claim for benefits, and part of that includes providing a VA examination if the veteran puts forward enough information. Part of the PACT Act actually sort of reversed this presumption for veterans who are claiming service connection due to an exposure. So it says that if there's evidence of a disability and evidence of participation in a toxic exposure risk activity, so exposure to some toxins, then a VA should provide an exam unless the secretary determines that there's no indication of an association. So the clear intent behind this law was to make it easier for veterans to be able to get a VA examination if they're claiming this theory of service connection. We're going to have to wait to see if VA actually implements it that way and starts offering exams more often, because in the past, they've really required that there was some sort of information connecting the claimed condition to the exposure before providing the veteran for an exam. So the intent behind this law was that VA should be providing more exams more frequently when veterans are claiming this theory, but there hasn't been enough time yet to see how that's really shaking out in practice. But if you do get a VA exam to address a nexus to burn pit or any other type of exposure, the examiner should not provide a negative opinion saying that the claim, to go back to our example, the sleep apnea was not caused by burn pits only because the VA did not include it on the list of burn pit exposure. The whole point of this exam is supposed to be addressing if it's otherwise caused by it, because if it was on the list, VA should just grant it. We see too many VA exams where that's the examiner's opinion, and that's not enough. They need to be addressing whether that was otherwise caused, even if it's not included on the VA's list. And to do that, the examiner should be addressing the facts of that veteran's particular exposure, their medical history, any risk factors they have for developing the condition, as an explanation as to why their development of that condition not on the list was caused by their exposure to burn pits or other toxins in service. And again, VA benefits by law says that the benefit of the doubt should go to veterans. So if it's unclear, the tie goes to the veteran. Medical science usually requires a lot higher standard than that before they will acknowledge an association between a diagnosed condition and some sort of event. So again, examiners too often will say, well, there's no conclusive medical study connecting sleep apnea to burn pits. But again, that's the standard of medical science. That's not the standard of VA benefits. So this Nexus exam should be using the VA standard of benefit of the doubt. And then the last bit we're going to cover briefly today is just to kind of prepare you about how to meet with a veteran service officer and what that's going to look like to start establishing a claim for VA benefits. So our number one advice is to start with an accredited service officer. This means they've gone through VA's training and shown that they have sufficient knowledge and background that they can help veterans. And VA also checks to make sure that they are continuing to maintain their competence. So it's just a good idea to know that they are aware that they know what they're doing. And unfortunately, there's a new trend of kind of predatory companies out there saying that they can help veterans file their claims who are charging a lot of money. And using an accredited service officer ensures that they're not charging the veteran money and it's not a scheme to make money off of this. They are accredited by VA to help the veteran file their claim. Then you'll work with the accredited service officer to identify and gather evidence and then submit your claim package to VA. VA increasingly is really focused on the use of standardized forms. That's because they're wanting to automate as much of the processing as they can on their end. But so increasingly winning your benefits the earliest is really important to use the right form from VA the first time so that you can get benefits earlier. Because filing the claim the first time the right way is easier than spending a long time trying to appeal to get your decisions. So it can be extra work up front to gather all of the forms VA requires, but in the long run, it's going to be more beneficial to the veteran to get your benefits easier. So the first form an accredited VSO should ask you to fill out is what's called the power of attorney. It's VA form 2122. This is the form that lets an accredited representative help the veteran file their claim. It gives that representative the ability to view the veteran's records in VA's claims file system, and that's how they can help keep track of what's going on so far. So this is what the form looks like. It starts with asking for the veteran's information and then asks for the name of the accredited representative. So it asks for the name both of the VSO organization and also for the individual who's filling out the form. And again, we would recommend taking the time before you go meet with this accredited service officer to gather all of the relevant information about your claim. So take the time to sit and think and get the dates and locations as specifically as you're able of all the places you were deployed, all the various places where you served. An accredited service officer can help you see if any of those periods of service would let you take advantage of any of these presumptive categories we've been talking about. And also have a list of all of your current conditions. That includes any medical diagnoses, but also any symptoms you may have that aren't really falling into a diagnosis, at least yet. The service officer could help you know if that's a condition you could also get benefits for. And in doing that, it would really help too to note when those symptoms started, and a general track of how they've gotten worse over time. Those points can be really helpful in establishing both service connection, showing if it started during service, and also determining when your rating should be raised as to what date. And then a list of any medical providers that you have, both past and present. Again, those are people that might have relevant information that could help you when you're claiming for benefits. You don't necessarily have to have a copy of all of those records with you at this initial meeting. Both the VA and the service officer can help you get those records, but at least a list of who the doctors you've seen in the past or their medical providers and their approximate time frame is going to help you a lot. And if this is your initial claim for VA benefits, then the first claim is filed on a VA form 21526EZ. That's the initial claims form. We again recommend don't submit naked claims. And by that, we always mean include additional information supporting your claim. The form from VA includes the bare minimum of information. But in addition to that, you want to take the time to include extra information to give everything that VA needs to grant your claim the first time. So that would include a medical release for any private medical records. So in that list of, when you put together the list of the relevant doctors you've been seeing, if any of those are non-VA providers and private providers, you can give a release to VA so that they can go get a copy of those records on your behalf. We always recommend statements in support of claim from both the veteran and any buddies, family members, loved ones that can just help corroborate what you're saying about what your current condition is and how it's related to your service. And take the time to explain that and submit that in addition to the initial claim form, because the form itself doesn't have much information for all of that. So take the time to add additional pages really explaining how your claims condition is related to service. And then any other evidence you might have that's relevant. Like I said, it helps to submit all of this at one time, so that the first time VA looks at your claim, they have all the information they need to grant it. And this is looking at that form we talked about. This is the initial claim form, the 526EZ. Important, I want to highlight box 4. I'm sorry, just go back one slide. Box 4 asks if you've ever filed any VA claim before. That means anything with VA. So if you've only filed for education benefits in the past, anything like that, it's basically just asking, like, does VA have a record for you yet or not? And marking that box correctly can help speed up the way that your claim is processed. So just wanted to flag that about that form. And then, as I pointed out, the section here in the middle where it asks for your current disabilities, and it gives you some boxes to fill that out. Those boxes aren't very big to explain how the disability is related to in-service. So I would always recommend in that box, type C attached form, and you submit an additional page where you've taken the time to fully explain why your current condition is related to your service. That way VA knows to be looking for other pages and they're going to look at it all at the same time. It also includes boxes for you to list all of your medical facilities, the government medical facilities that might have records on you. That's all VA and Department of Defense facilities. You can list those on the form and VA will go get copies of those records on your behalf. This is the private medical release we talked about. So if you got relevant treatment at a non-government medical health center, so any private center, then file a 214142A for each of those different medical centers, and include the name of the doctor and the approximate dates of treatment to the best that you're able. You can also get a copy of your relevant private records yourself and send them to VA. The benefit of asking VA is generally these private facilities charge individuals a fee for generating a copy of your records. And they generally don't charge the government. So if VA asks for it, usually the benefit is that you're saving yourself that fee from getting records from your doctor's appointment. But if you already have them or your facility doesn't have a fee, then you can submit the records on your own behalf. And we talked about always submitting additional pages explaining your condition. If we recommend doing that on a VA form that's called the Statement in Support of Claim, that's form 214138. This form is mostly just a blank box. It has information at the top asking for the veteran's information, and then it's largely just an open box. The benefit of using that, though, is VA is used to looking for VA's forms. So if you put your information on this page, it's something VA is used to seeing, that it's going to flag to them quicker as important. So we recommend always putting your extra explanation on this form. If you get a copy of this presentation, that blue link is a hyperlink, but you can also just Google VA form 214138. All of these forms are for free from VA's webpage. Please don't pay for them. Like I said, there's now some predatory companies out there that are trying to present this information behind a paywall. They are all free on VA's webpage. You don't need to pay for a copy of any of these forms. After you file your claim, just keep in mind that you should keep in contact with your service officer. The process can take longer, from VA than we all want it to. But keep in touch with your service officer to let them know. Pay attention if you get any documents from VA. If they're asking you to attend a VA examination, it's important you attend that. Those are often through a private company now. And VA still sends most information in the mail. So be checking your mail for anything from VA with important information about your claims. And then keep VA up to date if you move. So if you have a new mailing address, if there's a change in your dependents, things like that, keep your service officer informed, and that can help you know when you need to tell VA about it. And then most importantly, when you get a decision from VA, be sure to tell your service officer as quickly as possible. They can tell you if it's worth appealing your decision or contesting it if it's unfavorable. And so the quicker you tell them, the more time you'll have to make that decision. And we also just want to flag, if you haven't already enrolled for VA healthcare, this is the form that is used to enroll in VA's healthcare system. That's the VA form 1010EZ. And you can submit it to any VHA healthcare system in order to get enrolled in the healthcare system. So I know we covered a lot of material. I tried to keep it moving to make sure we would have time for questions at the end here. But thanks for having us. This is great.
Thank you so much, Andrea. That is such great information. So much that is out there that we did not know about, and that things that didn't apply now apply to a lot of veterans. So thank you so much for bringing that to us, and thank you so much for getting us acquainted with those forms and such. It is definitely hard to navigate, so it's good to kind of have a base knowledge when you're going to see a CVSO. So we really appreciate all of your information today. All right, so let's go on to our Q&A. So Michael's going to jump on here. Michael's going to read off the Q&A questions, and we'll have Andrea answer those.
We don't have any questions at this time, but as we continue to wrap it up, I'll keep an eye out for the Q&A.
Okay. All right, then. So this is the contact information. You guys can take pictures of this or whatnot. It's got Andrea's information in there, her email address, and the phone number to Bergman and Moore representatives. Annette's information is on here, and then our emails are on here for myself and for Michael Monk. And this is some of our upcoming webinars that we have this upcoming month. Managing your business, so those entrepreneurs will have one. And then California state benefits. This is really great. That slide that we had earlier today that I kind of just glanced over and it kind of gave you a little bit of information. This is going to be a fantastic webinar for you guys to learn about all the California state benefits and what CalVet does. Here's that survey link. Again, we always look at all of these surveys to see how we can help you guys more. Please, we implement this. Fill us out. Let us know how we're doing. Anthony Z has his hand up. So.
Yes, I allowed him to talk.
Okay, great. You unmuted him. Okay.
Chat's
Hello,
disabled.
can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. I hear you.
Yeah, I have a question. See, I went to Djibouti twice. And I made my change. Djibouti, Africa is one of the location for burn pits. And I went there twice. I think 2016 and 2018 or 19, something like that. It was a 9-month deployment. It was a total of 20 months deployment. And I smell all these fumes out. It was really environmental and filthy in that incinerator. I smell it every day, every night. Even though I don't feel it right now, can I still file for the VA claim? Because I was just wondering, because I went to medical and they didn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Can I still file for it even though I don't have the sickness of it?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, VA is not going to grant any claim if there's not current symptoms, because just exposure itself is not really a medical diagnosis. So in filing any claim, you would need to either a diagnosis or focus on your current symptoms, whether that's respiratory problems, problem breathing, what have you. If you don't really have any of those yet, then there's really not any disability that VA is going to grant benefits for. As soon as if hopefully you stay healthy. If you develop any medical complication in the future, though, just file a claim with VA as early as those symptoms start happening, and that would get you the earliest effective date. This presumption isn't going to expire, because this is set by law now. So VA will always recognize that you were exposed to burn pits during your service.
Well, I was exposed to like every day, and I know I don't have the symptoms yet. But you're telling me that I have to get the symptoms before I file a claim?
I mean, yeah, because otherwise there's not a disability. That's one of the key elements of the VA disability compensation system, is the presence of some sort of current disability, or at the very least symptoms.
Okay, so I'm not going to file it yet, but maybe if I get old, now I can file it.
Right, because again, this benefit of the presumption of exposure is always going to be there.
Okay.
So if you develop symptoms in the future, then you can take advantage of this presumed exposure to burn pits.
Oh, okay. All right. Now, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So Jason Frost has his hand up too. Jason, did you put your question in the Q&A area? Let's see. I'm going to open up the Q&A really quick. What is the percentage that you need to have with some of these state benefits? I applied for a couple, but it's required to have a certain percentage. Can you at some time explain in more detail? If not here today, another time? Definitely. So when we go over the California state benefits, we're going to talk about the different percentages. Like the fishing and hunting license is about 50%, I think, and the fee waiver can be 0 to 100%. So we'll go over that in that webinar then. And you can also send me an email. My email's right there. Let me know which benefits you're interested in, or you can leave me your phone number and I can give you a call and we can go over that more in detail. Debbie has put in a message also. Our VSO left and we don't know it, and we didn't know it. How does this affect our claim? So your claim will be handed over to somebody else in that VSO office or handed to another VSO office. I would contact that office to see where your claim has gone. But if you did a claim in a county veteran service office, they are credited through CalVet. So we could also give you the number to the regional CalVet office to find out where your claim is and who is taking care of your claim. So if you'd like, you can send me an email and I can assist you with finding the regional office that is at now. Ray suggested registering with the burn pit exposure registry. And then Rich says, I would deploy twice to Iraq. I'm going to try to, I'm going to go slow because I just don't want to put out anybody's personal information here as far as their, so deploy twice to Iraq and deploy to Afghanistan, exposed to burn pits. Does a VA need any information besides what's in my current records? So it's going to be on your DD form 214, but I'm going to let Andrea answer more to that question.
Yeah, so VA should have everything they need, but I'm always a big advocate of making it as easy as possible for VA to find. So again, when you submit the claim form, if you submit that statement in support of claim with it, just list on there explicitly the days that you were deployed that qualify you for exposure to burn pits. VA should have it, but there's no harm in telling them more than once and put it in one place to make it easy for them.
Absolutely. This question is, what is a reasonable rate to be charged to help with the disability claims that are successful? Is 6 times the monthly amount of the benefit gain fair price? We recommend that you go to a county veteran service office. They do not charge at all. We don't recommend going to private places to get your VA claims done. When you go to a veteran service office, county veteran service office, they're accredited by Calvet. So if there's any type of appeals, Calvet's going to back you up. They're going to go there and help you out. But I'm going to let Andrea speak even more on her side, what she, her opinion on this.
Yeah, in general, I would still, so an accredited service officer, as mentioned, will not charge you for the help of your claim. If you find that you need the assistance from an attorney, attorneys do charge fees, but you can still check from VA's accreditation search to see if the attorney is accredited with VA. And then that means that they're having to follow some rules from VA about what's a reasonable fee and that kind of thing. So use that search function on VA to make sure that they are accredited with VA, because as I mentioned, there is other places out there that are trying to charge exorbitant fees that are not actually accredited with VA. So use that VA accreditation check, even if you find you need an attorney's help.
And Andrea, is it correct that you just go to va.gov and in the right corner where the search bar is, you can put legal assistance and it'll pop up with that spreadsheet that's all the legal assistance throughout the United States, and you can look there to see what organization it is and what they help with? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, VA reorganized the page, so I can't remember where it is exactly, but even if you just Google VA accreditation search, it's the first thing that's going to bring up, and it'll direct you to VA's webpage has a search box for accredited representatives.
That's such great advice. Thank you so much. Let's see, we have a question here. I was denied by the VA for sarcoidosis last year. I probably said that wrong. I'm sorry. About 500 pages from Kaiser. Do I resend the info? I spent 2 deployments in Iraq and 1 in Afghanistan. Andrea, what do you think?
I'm sorry. So this is somebody who was denied in the past for a disease that is, yes. So if you applied for a VA benefits in the past and were denied, and it's something that's on the presumptive list now, you should refile your claim and do it as soon as possible, so you will get the earliest possible effective date.
Now,
if
so you're
you
saying
have
that
a claim that was still, I'm sorry?
will they get back paid for when they did put it in?
It can be a complicated question, depends on how long ago it was. So the best advice would just be to file a claim as quickly as possible, and then you can kind of figure out if you can get your retroactive pay. If you have a claim that's currently open, that you had filed a claim and VA hadn't decided it yet, they should be applying the new rule, and so you shouldn't need to reapply. But if you've been denied in the past, definitely file a new claim for that benefit as early as possible.
Awesome. All right then. Let's see. If sleep apnea is not a presumptive condition for the burn pit exposure, why is it that there is requirements of being diagnosed within 1 year of exposure? Do you know about this?
I'm not sure what that's referring to.
They're saying
I'm not sure what that 1 year requirement is. As I mentioned, sleep apnea is not included on the list. However, I've seen a lot of claims where veterans have sleep apnea that they are claiming is a complication of burn pit exposure. So that's why that's the example I used as taking advantage of the presumption of exposure to try to otherwise claim that benefit. But unfortunately, that was not included on the list of qualifying medical conditions passed by Congress.
Okay. if you have a current disability rating and have developed new symptoms that meet presumptives, do you need to include medical information from the previous approved claim?
So VA should have all of your records already if you filed for VA in the past, but again, if it's super on point and relevant to your new claim, I would give it to VA again, so you can put it all in front of them in one place. But every time you file a claim to VA, it's put into the same electronic file, so they should have it. Just no harm in giving it to them again.
Okay. If you're receiving a pension due to low income and special income for home care from the VA, so special compensation, do you have to apply for special income for home care if it was already approved due to disabilities? I am at a 0% rating with the VA, but receiving based on wartime and low income. I would say go to the County Veteran Service Office and speak to them.
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand fully that question. I'm not sure that was anything impacted by the PACT Act, but yes, that's always good advice to find a local veteran service officer that could help you for the specifics of your case.
Yeah, definitely. Special compensation is definitely, you definitely need to talk to the County Veteran Service Office on that one. Regarding the burn pit qualification conditions, I was given a 0% rating for allergenic rhinitis. I'm probably saying it wrong. I'm so sorry. In 2014, since one of the qualifying conditions for burn pits is that, do I need to provide to have my provider diagnosed with chronic rhinitis in order to apply?
So the burn pit presumption is helping you get service connection. It doesn't dictate a specific rating. So it seems like this veteran's already service connected for the symptoms of rhinitis. So getting a higher rating for that would be a question of an increased rating, which isn't necessarily impacted by the burn pit presumption itself. But again, for the specifics of your case, it's hard to kind of answer in this sort of forum. So talk to a county service officer.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree. Well, so that's all of our questions in the Q&A. Is there anything else you want to add, Andrea?
No, I know we went through a lot pretty quickly. Just trying to, kind of give an overview while we could. But thanks for having us here, and we'd be happy to answer any follow-up questions using the contact information if you need anything.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for being here. And Bergman and Moore is a fantastic resource for everyone. So send them an email if you have any, specific questions, or, if you would like to speak further, or you can reach out to any of us over at CalVet, and we can definitely direct you to the right places for those questions, or the county offices that can help you. I put up again on this slide our social media pages. So there was Bergman Moore has done I think 2 other presentations with us, and those presentations are also on YouTube. So if you want to hear more about presumptive diseases, it's going to be on our YouTube channel at just put in the search bar on YouTube, CalVet, and then you can find it in the CalVet YouTube channel. So definitely check that out. We have our Facebook and our Instagram on there. And then again, I'm going to point out 988, which is really important. That's a number to call if you or anybody you know is in any type of crisis. Let's say that you're on the phone with them and things are really, really bad. You can also add a call so that you don't lose contact with them. And I've done that myself, and the individuals are helped out right away. So definitely 988, remember that number, press 1 for veterans. And there's our phone number. And I want to say thank you to all of you that are here today, whether you're a veteran, you're a family member, you're a friend, or you're a service provider here trying to get more information to help veterans. If you're a VSO, they're finding out more about these presumptives. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being such huge advocates, and thank you for sharing this information. And let's get one more time. I'm going to go back to this questions page so you guys have everybody's contact information. Thank you so much, Andrea. Thank you so much, Annette. And thank you all of you guys. Have a fantastic day.
Thanks.